The chapter starts with the protagonist throwing himself into an abyss, blaming himself for the horrible life he had. He says that they treated him like garbage, and this is how his life ended. Then we see a man fighting against a giant rat, also a magician making an enchantment, and our protagonist is behind. The magician casts the spell and destroys the rat, and it turns out that in our feet is the garbage collector of his group, and they make fun of him because they are high class and Ein low class, to which Ein apologizes. Ein in his mind says that he works as Appraiser, which is the lowest class. When they are born, the goddess of light assigns them a job, and that of darkness gives them skills. That by training them you can improve a lot of skills, but the jobs are inherited and cannot be changed. The jobs are divided into 3 categories. The highest, only a few can be of rare class. The second class, that includes people like Zoid and Jolene, and the lowest that are peasants and appraisers who do not serve to fight. When the children inherit the jobs, they are condemned to do the jobs of their parents, but they lost their parents at an early age, losing the business. That's why they chose to be an adventurer who dreamed of getting rich, and used their ability to evaluate and saw that the rat is of rank F, the lowest, but its teeth are of rank D. But he does not have enough strength to get it out and asks for help. His companions do not deny saying that they did not touch a filthy rat, and for that he is collecting garbage, referring to EI, and they throw stones at him and he looks at him angry. But the partner stops and kicks him. The girl says they risk their lives to protect him, and he does nothing at all. Ian laments and thinks that the world is not fair. Ian continues trying to get the tooth out while his companions continue to make fun of him. Ian pulls out the tooth, and in his mind he gives the reason to his companions, saying that it is true that he only serves to rummage through the trash. The partner tells him that the only reason I let him join his group is because he doesn't want to dirty his magic bag, and they leave, and he can't stand it, the desire, but he says that is what he has to do to survive in this world. All because of his work. On the way they meet a hellhound and order Ein to check it to take the useful to what Ein. He says it's weird because there shouldn't be those in that dungeon, but they force him, and he extracts bones, and the partner sees another hellhound. Ein tells them that they cannot go, that something strange is happening, and his colleagues ignore him and tell him that if he leaves, he will not be able to take anything by seeing himself and forced to do what his partner says, Zoid. Then they find many hellhound corpses, but a note that there is something in the background and Zoid look, and it is full of hellhounds fighting over food. The boys don't know what to do, but Zoid tells Jolena to use a paralyzing spell in Ein so they escape. Ein asks for help, but nobody listens, and the hellhounds start eating it. Ein manages to free himself from the paralysis and attacks them. Ein tries to escape, but his former companions block the exit. Ein looks for a way out and only finds a bottomless pit. Ein plans to return, but the hellhounds are out. Ein thinks about whether he prefers to be eaten alive or jump into the void. Ein thinks that all this is because he was born as an appraiser. He became an adventurer to survive. But in the end, Zoid and Jolena made fun of him, while he lowered his head and left him lying, all because he is weak and born as an appraiser, and thinks if it really is all like that, and he says that maybe he only put limits on himself, but it's too late, because he is weak and he throws himself into the void. He wonders why he was born and if it would make sense to have continued living. In the end, he could not do anything, or get anything. His life could not be worse. They treated him like garbage, and he ended up as one. When he fell, he is in a kind of paradise, and a girl appears and he walks towards him and kisses him on the forehead, and Ein wakes up. He wonders if he is dreaming, and he wonders who that person was, and he finishes waking up and sees that he is alive and without wounds, and he takes one of the drops that fall from the tree and evaluates it, surprising that the drops are class S, and heal, and evaluates the tree that is the tree of the world of class S. Ein says that a long time ago in his world there was a tree of the world, and to produce the magic they use, they breathed mana from the atmosphere, and his body transforms it. The mana came from the tree of the world. It is said that the tree of the world withered centuries ago, and that it did not exist, and that the manna appeared from other trees in the world supposedly. But when researchers sent people to find them, there were not one on the entire planet. Ain thanks the tree for saving him, and Ayin listens to a voice but sees no one. Ain, after thinking about what Hara, decides to try to get out of the dungeon, and thanks and says goodbye to the tree. The girl who saved him appears but says nothing. Ain says that nothing he has seen was on the exploration map of the guild, and he is astonished to think about what happened to him, and he arms himself with courage to go out taking a stone, saying that this time he will not set any limits and fight with what is necessary. He walks and does not find any monster lowering his guard. They just cut off his ear and then his fingers. Ain evaluates the monster that is a gremlin, a Class S demon that quickly cuts Ain everywhere Ain sets out to Espacap, but the gremlin is about to impale it, but something stops and destroys the surprised gremlin. Ain evaluates it, and was a bear of the death of rank S that cuts Ain's face and destroys his entire body. But a child appears and destroys the bear with a spell and says, verbatim, asking me to save you already. Seemed too much to me. But last but not least, you are a human. Do not misunderstand me, brat. And ask who he is. But he is unconscious. Then Ain wakes up in the tree of the world and faces the girl. Ain is surprised and thinks that she is beautiful. She looks like an elf, taken from a fairy tale, thus ending Chapter 1. Chapter 2 starts with the girl telling him to drink the tea her daughter made him and he better like it, and Ain wonders who they are, and the girl hands him the tea and his mother takes it and puts it in Ain's mouth, who when he drinks it, he loves it. When Ain sees her, he thinks she's very pretty. The mother tells Ain that if he has impure thoughts with her daughter, she will wipe him off the map. Then we see Ain ask them if it was them who saved him, to which the mother says that someone like her would not help such an inferior life form, and that she helped him because Yuri, her daughter, begged her, and she had no choice but to eliminate those monsters, and that she better thank Yuri with all her heart. Yuri says that she really didn't say anything, and the father says that he wouldn't have rescued him if he hadn't asked him to kneel down and show gratitude, one as high as the top of the mountains. And Ain does. Yuri blushes a lot and nods, but the father kicks and tells Ain not to call her by her name. And Yuri says, "Mom, stop." To which Ain realizes and asks if they are mother and daughter, and the mother answers that you could say yes, and she says her name is Ursula, and she is the guardian of the world tree. And Ain asks, "Guardian?" And Ursula says that in that world there are 9 trees like that one, and those who make sure they live in peace, take care of it and protect it from outside attacks, are the guardians. Ain asks if they live there, and Ursula answers yes, and since Yuri took root she has lived in her base. Ain asks how she took root if she is human, and Ursula answers that Yuri is not human. Yuri is the very tree of the world, specifically it is her will. Something like a spirit, to which Ain says that she is rightly so beautiful, and the mother tells her not to talk to her girl like that, and that they did not give her back her eye so that she could use it like that. And Ain remembers that the death bear tore out his eye when it attacked him, and left him seriously injured. Ain looks and also realizes that he is completely healed. Ursula says that she cured it using the drops of the world, but they cannot restore shattered eyes, and that is why they took a piece of the tree of the world to make an artificial one. You could say it is a prosthetic spiritual eye, which was, at Yuri's request, that he asked her to use her power so that she could see again, saying that if it weren't for her, she wouldn't have a reason to move a finger for a human. Ain asks Yuri why so much trouble, and she answers because she previously thanked her. Ursula says that it is quite rare for someone to fall into this abyss, but when it happens, Yuri always saves them, and despite everything, nobody thanked her. On the contrary, they stole pieces, leaves, and branches from the world tree, and that is why she was very happy with what Ain told her, and Ain thanks her for saving him twice, and says that he owes his life to her. Yuri blushes, but Ursula gets in the way and tells Ain that she can go now, but Yuri says no because it is dangerous outside and asks Ursula if there is something she can do. Ursula says that her oath as a guardian only allows her to get away from her to a certain point, and she cannot accompany him to the exit, and also the teleportation magic does not work inside Yuri to the Ein cries, and Ursula decides to train Ein until he can get out of the dungeon alone. Yuri thanks her. Ursula says that she is only doing it for her. Ein surprised cries with emotion and hugs them. Ursula says that the most powerful sage will train him and will not let him fail. Ein decides to do his best. Then we see them in the hallway where Ursula will train him with practices instead of theory, which scares Ein. Ursula tells him to look down the hallway, and Ein doesn't see anything. And Ursula tells him to use his left eye, which has power from the world tree, and that he lacks perception. Ein concentrates and manages to see the hallway, and Ursula says that the training will begin, which consists of Ein having to dodge all the attacks of a gremlin. Ein tells her that it will be impossible, to which Ursula tells him no, because he has the ability to evaluate, and Ein says that it only serves to extract information, but the lady says that if her eye is not like a human's now, and that she tests the ability and evaluates the gremlin, but it cuts off one of her ears, and Ursula explains that a spiritual eye can evaluate much more than any human, for example, the attacks of its rival. Ein says that that was what he saw, and falls unconscious. Ursula heals him and his ear, and also says not to worry, that every time he falls on the brink of death, she will heal him, so he will learn faster. Then Ein uses his eye to dodge the gremlin, managing to concentrate more. He can see beyond and predict the movement and the moment that will hit him so he can dodge it, and Ein manages to do it. Surprised, he thinks that Ursula will praise him, but he gets distracted, and the gremlin attacks him from behind. Ein says that it is true he cannot be trusted, and he has to make his ability to evaluate become like breathing. Ein thinks that when he can get it, his world will change. After dodging several attacks without difficulty, Ein gets distracted, and the gremlin attacks him again at the same time. Back, Ursula says that it is not for nothing that the best teacher is pain, and heals Ein, tells him that he already passed the test, and that the next one is about defeating the S-rank gremlin, and Ein says that his job is not combat, and Ursula says that she already knows and gives him a wooden sword. At the request of Yuri, who made it for her to help her, Ursula gives it to him and tells Ein that her daughter endured the pain of tearing out a piece of wood for his own good, and if he breaks it, she will split him in two. Ein understands and will use it carefully. Ein prepares to attack the gremlin but does not succeed, since, as Ursula says, his attacks are too slow, and Ein asks him what he should do, and Ursula tells him to find out for himself. Ein keeps trying but does not manage to hit any attack, to which Ursula tells him to use his spiritual eye to see beyond, and Ein concentrates and manages to activate the super evaluation, with which he can see the trajectory of the rival hit in slow motion. Ein manages to hit him, and he falls destroyed on the floor. Ein says that for him it was in slow motion, but everything happened too quickly, and a counterattack at that speed is something devastating, and celebrates his victory. But Ursula tells him that it is still early to celebrate, since his next lesson is to defeat all the gremlins in the area. Then we see Yuri, who hopes that Ein is okay, and then we see that Ein managed to defeat all the gremlins, and asks Ursula what she thinks, to which she answers that he has a spiritual eye is the least he should be able to do, and Ein asks her what her next lesson will be, and Ursula tells her that it is to be able to evaluate the ability of a gremlin and make it her own, and explains that humans acquire skills when they learn them, but monsters are born with them. Ein says that he can evaluate them, but it will be impossible for him to copy them, and Ursula tells him that he behaves like a novice. She explains that evaluating is being able to that information, understand it and make it yours. Ein says that even though he already has the information, Ursula tells him that with the spiritual eye he can see beyond the information, being able to acquire experiences. Ein says that the eye is incredible, to which Ursula says yes, since Yuri is incredible. Ein tries it and acquires the ability of super acceleration of a gremlin. Ursula tells him to try it. Ein uses it, but his body can't support that speed. Destroying his muscles, Ursula heals him and tells him to keep running. She also says that it's normal for him to walk that way, since when running, he uses all the muscles in his body, and every time his muscles break, they get stronger when they recover. She says that she will heal him every time he breaks 1,000 times, so he will have a body that can withstand any speed. Ein ran and ran and ran until his muscles stopped breaking and became more flexible. Ein says that he thinks he can fight a death bear, to which Ursula replies to lower those fumes, and Ein gets depressed because he is not that strong yet. Ursula tells him that she will let him evaluate his ability. Ein excitedly tries, but Ursula burns him. Ein fails to evaluate his ability, but Ursula tells him and explains that it is suppressed spells and S+ rank ability that allows him to use skills and magic just by thinking about it, so he does not have to recite any spell. Ein says that this is a very powerful ability, and Ursula tells him to hurry up and evaluate his suppress spell and fireball ability. Ein quickly evaluates it and manages to obtain suppress spell. Ursula heals him, and they try again until he evaluates fireball. Ein thinks that he has already been training for 5 days, and since his job is not magical, he has little magic capacity and faints quickly. Every time that happens, Yuri uses a drop of the world that not only does it refill his mana, but it increases his magic capacity, and that only works if he runs out of mana. Otherwise, it has no effect. That's why when he trains, he uses all his mana. After a month and a half like this, he is not only able to throw 1,000 fireballs at once, but he can also cast mid-level wind magic. With his body improved the abilities of the Gremlin and Ursula, his increase in magic capacity, and his super evaluation of his spiritual eye. Ursula interrupts him, saying that it is time for the rematch, and Ein gets excited, and they go towards the death bear. Ein gets scared to see him, and Ursula tells him not to get nervous, since now he is much stronger than before, although he is still weak. Ursula tells him that the worst thing is that he learned faster than he expected, and tells him that if he puts his training into practice, he will win without problems. Ein says that he can also be kind, and Ursula pushes him towards the bear to defeat him. Ein remembers his past and gets motivated, and calls the attention of the death bear to face it. Ein uses fireball and misses them all. Ursula says that he has very bad aim. Ein says that it is because he is nervous, and it will serve as a smoke screen. With super acceleration, Ein approaches to attack the bear, and when the bear attacks him, Ein uses his super evaluation and attacks with windstorm, sending the death bear flying. The bear recomposes and attacks. Ein in his mind says that since he was not born to be a magician, he has to be precise and ensure his hits, but that even if he does not fall with an attack, he will use thousands until he can win, and he uses 100 fireballs that hit the bear, and with that ability he defeats it. Ein does not believe it, and says that the bears are very weak for his new strength, thus ending the chapter.